thank my friend from Maryland, and General Cartwright, I thank you for being here, but I'm not going to ask you any questions for two reasons. The first one is because we've basically seen what this administration does to people in uniform who disagree with them. But secondly, Secretary Lynn wasn't completely forthcoming when he said that the Department was soliciting ideas from people about all of these issues, because what wasn't disclosed is you'd put a gag order or a non-disclosure agreement on the people doing this in the Joint Forces Command, where anybody that disagrees with you can't even talk to members of Congress or couldn't be here today to talk about these issues. And, Mr. Secretary, I ask you this question this morning. Who do you serve? Who do you work for?
President of the American people through him.
If that's the case, then you made the comment that President Obama and Secretary Gates were supportive of these reforms. Is it your testimony today that President Obama has signed off on the reform proposal to shut down the Joint Forces Command?
No, sir. As we discussed yesterday morning, the Secretary made that recommendation.
So then you misspoke when you said that the President and Secretary Gates is a Secretary Gates proposal. And the second thing I'd ask you is this. You said to the ranking member that it was a fair question, to get the analysis before you judge it. If that's the case, did the Secretary get the analysis? And if he got the analysis, why in the world won't you give it to this committee to look at it? And let me just go back and say this. You know, this should be a debate, as my friend from Maryland said, about whether we should shut down the Joint Forces Command, other efficiencies. But we can't have that debate because you have just refused to give us the information. Some of us may disagree. My friend from South Carolina, my friend from Texas, my friend from Florida, they all might disagree and think it should be shut down or not, but we can't have that debate because you've refused to give us a scintilla of evidence. You know, the Pentagon has woven a tapestry of silence that is deafening to the sounds of liberty itself. The end doesn't justify the means. Let's just look at some of the facts. You've had 11 years of testimony out in the public, of written analysis that we could look at for joint forces and jointness in the Joint Forces Command, and you've had 90 days of backroom meetings, and they've all been backroom. And when you talk about meetings, it could be just two people talking with each other, and you talk about these 30 meetings, but you've refused to give us one bit of the evidence. And when you come in here, you're blending apples and oranges. You say there's no business case, yet it was the business board recommendation that we all first heard about this closure. So the business board is making military policy, not business decisions. And then on the first briefings that you came in, you said you didn't know what the cost savings were. Shouldn't you have at least looked at those cost savings before you made the analysis? We all know from BRAC that sometime you guys come in here and tell us all this money we're going to save from shutting down facilities, and it ends up costing us more money rather than saving money, and you say it's a philosophical decision, but it's not a philosophical decision to the folks who are losing their homes right now in Virginia, to the $250 million deal that didn't close last week because of your decision, to the restaurants and businesses that are shutting up because you didn't make that decision. And my time is out, Mr. Chairman. I will look forward to asking some more questions when I get my own time.
Mr. Chairman, I need to respond to a couple of those points.
Go ahead.
First, Mr. Forbes, the recommendation the Secretary made, and you correctly described it as a recommendation to the President. He's had extensive discussions with the President about that recommendation and all the recommendations he's made, but with regard to the disestablishment of the Joint Forces Command, the President has not yet made a decision. The Secretary's recommendation was not based on the Defense Business Board. The Defense Business Board is an independent and parallel activity that came to the same conclusion, but the Secretary's decision, his recommendation, was based on his consultation primarily with his military advisors. These were not meetings with one or two people in the room. These were meetings with the chairman, with the vice chairman, with the chiefs, with senior civilian advisors, with the commanders, both incoming and outgoing, of the Joint Forces Command. With regard to the rationale, this is a two-part exercise. The rationale to recommend disestablishment was based not on the economics but on the military rationale. And I've gone into that in some detail. I won't repeat it, but I know you'll have another chance for questions, and we can do that then. The savings, there's $1 billion. I am sure we will save a substantial part of that $1 billion, and that will be the business case, and we will provide that to the committee when we have it. We have provided to the committee the military rationale for the recommendation for closure. As a bottom line point, Mr. Forbes, I fully understand this is a very, very tough decision. It is particularly tough for the area around Norfolk. We are going to work very hard to work with those people to help that adjustment.
Mr. Lynn, you have not done that. If you're going to work hard with them, you could have at least taken their calls from the governor. You could have at least given them some information, and you still stonewall us today. But I'll ask my question in just a couple minutes.
I met with the governor as well as yourself yesterday morning, and we'll continue to do that.